Captain David Warner scoring 21 off 20 balls. Australian Independent Radio News.
Stand by. Processing. Radio in motion program loading in 3, 2, 1. Program activated.
Attention everyone, the unpleasant noise you are about to hear coming from your radio is not a mistake.
Okay, first things first, what is your name?
This is Big Sonny playing the best of the 90s and beyond.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. Radio in motion.
Please do not turn off your radio, but turn up the volume on your receiver as high as it can go.
All right, ready, here we go.
Radio in motion.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me tonight on Radio Motion. I'm back after a couple weeks touring Europe, Indonesia, and the subcontinent. I'm kidding. I live in the subcontinent. I live in Australia, so that makes no sense. And I was actually just sick. I had lost my voice. You don't need a face for radio, but you do need a voice. So I had to opt out there for a bit. But I got a great show lined up for you. Tonight is my tribute to my favorite songs from the movies. Looking at my playlist, our soundtrack stereo playlist tonight. A lot of them are from the 80s. What can I say? I didn't do that on purpose. There are just a lot of great songs in the movies from the 80s, and it's just not like that nowadays. There were so many tie-ins to songs in the movies. But yeah, tonight, hope you enjoy those songs. And later up, I'm going to have one of my good friends, Stephen, join me, who works for Luma Pictures in Melbourne. And he works directly with the team that does a lot of the visual and CGI effects. And over the past 10 years, they have actually contributed to a lot of the effects for all the Marvel movies and Star Wars and stuff like that. So that'll be pretty cool and near and dear to my heart, movies and special effects. So hope you enjoy tonight's show on Sonny Radio 99.3 FM. You're listening to Radio in Motion. I'm Big Sonny, and we're going to kick it off with one of the best movie tie-in music songs from the 80s. Now, if you don't recognize the song, then it's possible that you're just an alien and not even an earthling. So kicking it off with The Power of Love by Huey Lewis and the News. And I'll tell you later what movie. If you don't know what movie that is, again, I can't help you. You're listening to Radio Motion on Sonny Radio 99.3 FM. Cyndi Lauper with the good Goonies Are Good Enough, one of my favorite songs from the movies. Richard Donner, the late great Richard Donner, who also brought us the OG Superman, Christopher Reeve, and of course the Lethal Weapon series, directed the Goonies. It's great watching the behind the scenes from that movie because it's like controlled chaos with those kids, but certainly spawned a lot of great careers if you've ever seen the Goonies. Before that, Michael Sembello with Maniac from the movie Flashdance. I think that was also, they were taking the piss out of it in the movie Gremlins. They were dancing to that. But that's all part of tonight's soundtrack stereo and great songs from the movies. But I'm excited to have on the line one of my good friends, Stephen, who works at Luma Pictures, which has a lot to do with the movies. You there, Stephen?
Hey, Sonny, how you going?
Good. Can you hear me?
Not very loud, but I can do best.
That's all right. Just crank the phone to your head and see if you can hear me.
Oh, and it's very, 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 very quiet.
So how you been?
I'm good, mate. How are you going? That's the real question.
I'm fine. Welcome to the show. I've been trying to get you on for a while.
I know. Thank you so much for having me.
That's all right. How's fatherhood?
Fatherhood's good. Got 2 little kids now, both under 2.5, and yeah, we've got a handful at the moment, but it's going really well.
Yeah. How can you get time now? What are you doing? Someone must be helping you out.
Well, they're in the middle of dinner time at the moment, so I was able to escape into a back bedroom and lock myself in. So.
That's all right. That's the only time you're going to get, and that, I dare say, and possibly the toilet. So that might be your best friend, to lock yourself in there sometimes. Do you do that?
No, that's it.
Is that your escape, going to the toilet?
What's that? Sorry, say that again.
Is that the escape, going to the toilet?
Sometimes it is, yeah. Sometimes it can be in there for up to 20 minutes, just catching up on the world.
Does anyone knock on the door and say, "What are you doing in there?"
Yeah, pretty much most of the time, yeah.
So yeah, I've been playing a lot of my favorite songs from the movies and getting real nostalgic there. Playing stuff like Huey Lewis from Back to the Future and the Cyndi Lauper's The Goonies Are Good Enough, and just thinking about all those great 80s movies.
Lots of classics.
Yeah, and I guess I'm always special effects. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure we've probably talked about it before. But when I was a kid, I suppose you know how you have all these careers picked out when you're a kid. That was the one I really wanted to do. My whole thing was, I'm gonna do special effects and work for ILM. Obviously, that takes more work. You can't just think it. So, but look, that was one of my things. But it's still my passion. Obviously, movies and movie magic, and it's just amazing how it's changed over the years. And you work at Luma Pictures, yeah?
That is correct. Yep, absolutely.
So what aspect? I know they've been working on a lot of the Marvel movies because I see you post them a lot, and I see them in the credits, and everyone in Melbourne should be proud of that. There's a big history here of a lot of films being done here, or even post-production stuff. So what exactly area do you work in? What do they do to the movies?
Yeah, so my role is an in-out coordinator. So I work amongst the film studios, the streaming companies, and what we do is we grab, so it's all kind of like file transfers now these days. So we grab the files online off, I don't know if you know the program Aspera, which we used to use at our previous company.
Yep.
So we transfer all those files from all Netflix, Disney, Marvel, Warner Brothers, all their kind of websites. It's all very very high tech, cyber security protected, websites and stuff. And then we transfer all the footage in, and then I distribute it to the artists or to the producers, who then give it to the artists. They'll get either feedback on it, or they'll just get instructions, or they'll just kind of know what they're doing. Then I get it back, I QC it, so I have to check all the footage, make sure the notes are in there, make sure it's. As much as it sounds like, as much as it sounds really glorious, it's a very, just kind of a normal kind of brain-numbing job. Just making sure paperwork's fine, a lot of data entry, and then I upload it off to the movie studios, and then they either add it into the edit, they look at it, or they'll give us feedback, and we'll work on more. They'll give us more instructions on a certain shot or pointers or something like that. And, it goes back and forth until it's final. And that's pretty much what I do. I just QC.
Look, don't ever say anything's ordinary. Anything that anyone does in any job, you're a piece of the puzzle, and especially with movies, I think people forget that. From the catering on down to the people doing the CGI, to the people doing the lighting, to the people building the sets, to the painters, there are. That's why pictures cost millions of dollars now, almost billions, because there are so many people involved in getting this product out and hoping it, not only, makes audiences happy and gives them a great adventure, but also they do have to make back their money. So, you're a part of that, and that's great. So what is...
Yeah, another cool element of the job as well is the artist will send requests for... for example, when we worked on I Am Groot, the TV series, the spin-off from the Guardians films, they would need, for example, wood samples. So they'd jump online to websites where you can download high-quality pictures of wood, and would need that implemented into their work for the visual effects. So that's another kind of side job that we do for the artists when they send special requests through. Sometimes it's water shots, just literally 5 minutes of footage of water just flowing out of a tap or at a beach, and then they use that and incorporate it in their artwork, and then you kind of see that in the final product, which is kind of cool in a way, but you just never would think that's where a lot of the elements come from as well. So it's a kind of good little thing that I've learned on that journey so far with the visual effects team.
That's cool. Look, that's all part of it. Obviously, even with modern special effects, they're trying to usually emulate something from real life, and I think as close as CGI is, there's always there's a ways to go still, but they're getting dangerously close. So
absolutely.
What aspect do the creatives there actually work on? Are they finishing, effects for CGI? Are they shading things? Are they building? What do they do there?
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of teams. There's a roto team, there's a paint team, there's a lighting team. I think there's even a matte finish team as well. So they all do their kind of different layers to the shots. So obviously lighting makes sure, I think the back layer is kind of, lit up properly. Then you got a roto team who obviously do like the third or fourth layer into the image. There's so many different departments. It's not funny. And then obviously the supervisors get the final approval of those shots. And yeah, as I said, you get that feedback from the studio. Like we send some shots back and forth. You know, like we send like version 39 sometimes for one shot. Some productions we might just send maybe 3 versions because it's very minor. So what we do is, for example, we worked on the Angelina Jolie movie a couple of years ago. The one with the bushfire movie. Oh, sorry, I forgot the name off the top of my head right now.
That's all right.
Anyway, so we just did the fire elements in that one. We've got The Mother coming out on Netflix with Jennifer Lopez, so we did all the snow shots. So we just literally added extra snow into the pictures, a bit of blood in the special effects. It can broaden. Like for example, in the second Black Panther movie, we literally did a scene with a bonfire, so we did the fire. So we can have very broad jobs, or it can be very intense. Like Spider-Man, the latest Spider-Man movie, we did a whole bunch of sequences in that with lightning, you know, thunder, and anything you think of, we pretty much can do it. So yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty broad when you see it at the start, and then when you see the final product, it's very rewarding.
No, definitely, and look, I think it's becoming the norm to go to CGI for special effects, and look, in some ways, it probably is more cost effective, and when I talk about these things, I'm going to ask you a couple things about what you think about special effects in movies. It's obviously nothing to do, or it's not a commentary on the hardworking people who are in the business, who are doing their job. They're just, you know, they're doing their one element. They're doing a color or a shading, or they built something. They're not the ones overseeing, you know, the final product and direction of the movie. But in general, I think special effects and the people that work on it have always been amazing. But I suppose as a sort of a child of the 90s, 80s and 90s, it's amazing how, you know, you watch some movies. I was just watching one. Do you know Tremors? The movie Tremors?
Yeah, with Kevin Bacon. Yeah, I know Tremors.
So that became a bit of a cult hit. Even at the time, amazingly, it was pretty good at the time. And that was 1990. So put that in your brain. Watching that, and that was, you call that a high-end B movie, low budget. But, you know, with high-end actors, I mean, but the effects there, again, they were more practical effects. You know, Terminator 2 was coming after that, and Jurassic Park was coming after that, 91s, 92s, 93s. But still, for 1990, it's just cool to watch the behind the scenes, a lot of the practical effects they did to make the tentacle things come alive. You know, just
Absolutely.
Like the simple things to say, how can we do this, make it look good on camera, regardless if it's low tech? Like, I guess the thing is if it looks good on camera, who cares how you did it? They would pull things through the dirt or just do camera tricks and force perspective. And, you know, that movie, as well as it's really done really well. It's you know, tongue-in-cheek kind of sci-fi horror. It really holds up to this day. You know, I mean, you could pick it apart. There's some YouTubers, there are these special effects guys I watch on YouTube, and they specifically take movies and pick them apart, and they pay homage to ones that are still pretty good. And Tremors, they were really impressed by, is my point. And these are young guys who work in the industry now. So I'm just curious, what's your take on, I suppose, a lot of movies, especially, I suppose, Marvel probably set that pace. People have this expectation, and now I feel like maybe it's oversaturated a bit. Again, there's nothing to do with the people who are hardworking doing the effects. But do you think people are tired of just seeing everything CGI'd, is my point? You know?
Oh, look, it depends on the genre, I would say. Like with the Marvel films, you would expect it to be very high-end, high quality, because the amount of money that are in their budgets as well. You know, you're expecting, you know, setting the world on fire, with the visual effects that you're going to be expecting to see on screen and all the blue screen stuff that they do. But then again, you watch a horror film and then, you know, you'll see some visual effects and then you kind of be like, I don't know, it just kind of comes across as more corny if you're watching it in a horror movie compared to, like, you know, an action or a sci-fi movie. Like, I saw the latest Evil Dead Rise just on the weekend, and majority of that was practical effects, and it looked bloody amazing. Like, it was really, really well made, well done. And they had a really low budget as well, and you wouldn't have even been able to tell that till after I read about it online. That it was only made for $9 million, but it looked like a $100 million movie. So and it did not look corny at all. It looked fantastic. So I guess it just depends on the product, what you're expecting. But I would say more in the horror genre, like even like shark visual effects. I haven't worked on a shark movie yet, but some of them you can kind of get away with it. Some of them, like Bruce the Shark was, probably not as believable now as it was back then. But it varies on the movie, I guess.
True. Looking at Jaws, the behind the scenes with Jaws. If you've ever seen those documentaries, they're fantastic because the whole documentary about Jaws is mostly about everyone going that goddamn shark. All they did was wait for the shark. Yeah. Wait for the shark. But I think that was Steven Spielberg, honestly, and he even admits this. He was pushing something. He was pushing the envelope further than what it was capable of, and then when he finally hit that wall, I think none of them really knew what to do. You know what I mean? They're like, oh yeah, it'll work. It's mechanical. It'll go through the water. I think they were really shooting for the moon there. But hey, it's still a classic. They got what they needed. They got the shots they needed.
Well, that's exactly right. It captured everybody's imagination back then. I feel like I have an auntie who refuses to go to the beach till this day because of that film. So,
well, half of it is about the director, which was. And he would admit he was doing shots because the shark wasn't working. So a lot of it is, perspective of the shark and not seeing the shark. He built tension with no shark. And you know what? Probably made the movie better.
100%. Absolutely. Or it'd just be like one of those Italian shark film knockoffs that they did in the 80s. There's, I think, like 10, 15 of them out there. You can see them on Amazon and they're just terrible. They're all Jaws ripoffs.
Well, and speaking of sort of like lower budget, have you ever seen a movie from the 80s called Night of the Comet?
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
I would want you to watch that, being a fan of like sci-fi and horror or sort of low budget movies that sort of hit above their belt. That one fascinates me because I only discovered it again recently. That was 1984. And it was going up against other big hit movies at the time, like a little known movie called The Terminator or Ghostbusters. But you know what? It was like third top at the box office. And I'm going to give you a figure that you'll think is astounding. Again, it was the 80s. They made this movie for $700,000. That's not even a figure that's possible for a movie. Now
that would have been about $3-4 million back then.
Yeah, and there were some, call them mid-level. There were mid-level actors. They were known. You know what I mean? They were known, and a lot of thing they did was like sort of guerrilla filmmaking, like all these shots of L.A. They're like, how do they make the city look like it was abandoned? You could do that by just getting up at 4 a.m., waiting for the sun to come up, getting your 1 minute shot before people come. And you're like, we got it. You know what I mean? Things like that to save money. So the great thing about that movie is it made domestically at that time $14 million. I'm just saying, think of that in terms of today. That like what quadrupled their money. They did well, and I love stories like that.
Oh, me too.
Do you think that can still happen today, or people are just looking for the ultimate? Is there a low budget that could wow people?
It's always the next best thing. Like, it's very hard for like the next paranormal activity to ever happen again. Like Oren Pally, who made it for I think it was $30,000. Pretty much shot it all in his house with 2 amateur actors, and now he's retired and travels around New Zealand pretty much with his 3 daughters because he can do it. Do you know what I mean? So I think everybody, even producers in Hollywood, everything you kind of read. Everyone's always trying to find the next paranormal or the next Blair Witch, and I don't know, it's not necessarily because it's found footage, but I guess making it so cheap and then getting it out there with such an impact, I don't know, I just think it's a very dry and hard task to do these days. Yeah.
Well, again, there's this expectation, and it has to make, movies has to make $1 billion back, and that astounds me. I think Avatar, The Way of Water, I think it made its money back, but it had to make minimum of $1 billion or more. It was like a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
But that's apparently there's another one. Not that we're asking for it. I don't know. James Cameron he's stuck in a loop with Avatar, but anyway. So and again, this is not nitpicking the hardworking men and women who do their job amazingly, but I do always find this fascinating too. Like even Marvel. I feel like sometimes they need to hold back. So there needs to be some anticipation. You know what I mean? They can't just keep throwing content for content's sake. They just keep throwing stuff at us. And then you know what happens? The fans start to turn on them and say, like Thor Love and Thunder, they have a go at some of the effects, going like, this looks pretty crap, or this looks unfinished. You know what I mean? So what do you think is going on there? Like, are they just getting pushed too hard, do you think, when a product like that, and you can see it looks unfinished, and you're like, how did that get by, like, you know, the sign-off guy, the quality check guy?
Well, we worked on one big sequence in that film, so I don't really want to comment on that.
No, I'm saying just in general, when they push too hard, do you think they should just hold back? You know, quality over quantity.
I guess if you put in your perspective that you're saying, it could be like a quantity thing. Like, there's so many movies getting churned out at the same time to a point where everything has to hit a schedule. You could lose a lack of quality. Like, for example, with that film, from what I remember, I sent the final shots that Luma did for one of the sequences on a Friday night at, like, I don't know, let's just say it was about 8:30 Melbourne time, to send it to LA. Actually, no, I think it was going to Queensland when they were doing post-production. Anyway, it's not relevant. And then they were doing test screenings on the following Monday, and then it was released on the Thursday.
Yeah, they're pushing too hard. And again, this is nothing about the actual people doing the effects. Like I say, this is about there are producers, there are big people involved here that make these decisions, and it's up to them what they want to, you know, what they want the final product to look like. But it is just interesting that even Marvel, who people have this expectation of, when they go too fast, this can happen. That's all. You know what I mean? People are picky. You know that. Everyone's an art critic, right? Everyone's a critic these days. That's the problem.
Oh, well, that's right.
You know, the fact is they can't do it. You know what I mean? I remind everyone of that before they critique a movie, and I even try to say that before I pick apart a movie. I go, first of all, you have to realize someone put their blood, sweat, and tears into this. You know what I mean? I don't think anyone goes out and goes, let's make a crap movie. There's no such person on earth.
That's exactly right. And that's the approach that I've now taken now. Like, I've got the app Letterboxd, so when I rate movies, I'll give them like my rating on something. But then I'll be honest, if I've seen something that's not very good, I don't rate it because I think it is somebody's hard work, or you know, as you said, blood, sweat, and tears. It's somebody's baby at the end of the day. And I've seen the hours that my artists that work at my company put in, and the producers and the supervisors. And, you know, it is a bit of a spit in the face. Like, at the moment, we worked on that just got released on Apple, called Ghosted, with Anna de Artemis and Chris Evans.
Oh, yep.
And that's copping a caning at the moment by reviewers and online, and like critics as well have absolutely panned it. But it's one of those things where I kind of get caught in that bubble, not just because I worked on it. I've got a connection to it, but it's, at the end of the day, it's people's livelihoods, it's studios making decisions. I try not to get like offended by it. Like, I at the start, I used to get really offended when people would nitpick the movies that I'd worked on or was a part of, and take it to heart. But then again, you know, there is an industry out there for critics. There is an industry for people to judge stuff. The internet's giving everybody a voice, so it's one of those things where you just kind of, you know, cop it on the chin, or you just, you know. And the same thing with the restaurant. You go to a restaurant and the food's shit, you're not going to eat. So I couldn't say that word. I wasn't sure. Sorry.
No, that's right. That's right.
If the food's not that good, then you're not going to go back. But I'm not going to go on the internet and write a review and say their food was bad. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. I guess, like, everybody's got a voice, and everyone's like, I guess, entitled. But it's one of those. I don't know how to put it into perspective.
You're explaining it exactly right. And look, there's also a trend to knock movies to get clicks. So, you know what I mean? A lot of things are just clickbait. If something's a little bit bad, someone loves to put a video up, because I watch them too. You know, I try to watch the good ones and the bad ones. And in the end, you know what? I always go to form my own opinion, which is what you should do for your life. You know what I mean? If you read a review and you don't go to the movies because of that, I think that's quite sad, and I've never done that. Or if someone has said, it's a bit crap, or even if I said, I'm not sure, I hope everyone reminds me, you should do this too. Go and just, because when I was younger, there was no such thing. We didn't do that. You went to the movies, and if you came out and didn't like it, well, I mean, you lost a bit of money, but you were entertained, and now people stay away because of that. I think that's sad. I really think that's sad that, people watch Rotten Tomatoes, and they judge it based on other people's opinions. Why? Why don't you make your own opinion?
Yeah, I find it amusing, though, and I'll shout out to my mate Michael. I doubt he's listening, but shout out to Mickey. My mate Michael, he won't watch a movie that's below 7 on my TV, and I kind of respect that in a way, but at the same time, I'm like, come on, there's a lot of good 6.2s and 5.8 you could probably watch, but just refuse. He's just dead set. He's just like, no, I'm not watching anything below a 7. And I understand that in a way too, because time is precious, and you do want to watch quality, and you've only got a short amount of time in your day, I guess. I understand that, but I mean, someone like me, I'll try to watch everything and anything. I don't really care, what genre or how bad or good it is. I just like to see as many films as I can, regardless if they're good or bad or panned by critics or fans. I don't really give a shit. But I do find that kind of amusing, and there probably is a lot of people out there that do that.
Well, plus, everyone has their own thing. Everyone has their own genre they like, so maybe it's not your bag, but it might be someone else. I'm not a ginormous fan of Fast and Furious, but if I was the one to judge it, I must be wrong because, damn, it keeps going.
Yeah.
Isn't that Fast and Furious 10 now? Fast and Furious X?
I think that's what they're up to, yeah. I have seen them all, but to me, they're all the same. Like, other than Fast and Furious 1, 2, and 3, after that, I can't remember which and what happened and who died, who came back. It's a bit jarring with that franchise.
Look, I saw the first one, but I will tell you, the thing that I find hard to watch those, it's with Vin Diesel, and for me, it's just an octave thing. I'm getting older. I can't hear him. I can't hear the frequency of his voice. It's Fast and Furious. I don't know what he's saying. I can't hear Vin Diesel, so I can't go to his movies. His voice is getting so much lower as he gets older. It's getting out of the range of what I can hear frequency wise.
Oh, that's funny.
Actually, okay, this is a funny one. I just watched the Last of the Witch Hunters. Isn't that Vin Diesel?
Is that with Nicolas Cage?
The Last Witch Hunter.
Oh, Vin Diesel star. Yeah.
You know what's funny about that movie? It gets bagged big time. You know what? That one had potential. It's not terrible. And that's a case where if I had judged it by the IMDb score, I wouldn't have watched it. But it actually has some pretty cool thrills. And you know what? I'm going to touch on the special effects. They're actually awesome. I don't even know who did it.
I think Luma worked on that, to be honest. I've seen it in the files at work.
I think the effects in that, there's this tree that comes alive, and there's just, you know what? With special effects, to get back to that, it's about using it sparingly. It's about using it with a real shot. It's about using it in the background. And then you know what? It'll last for 50 years and look great. And that movie, regardless of the plot holes, the effects give it a reality. So that's my props.
I need to do that.
Watch it for a laugh and actually watch the effects and say, you know what? This is actually better than some high-budget movies I've seen. And I think that, again, proves how, someone's hard work, and whatever they did, it came out right. Whatever it is, I don't know what the magic is, but yeah, check that one out.
Yeah, I'm very confident my company actually did that before I was there, so I think I've seen it on a few of my colleagues' IMDb pages, so yeah, I'll definitely have to add it to the list.
Yeah, I mean, and it's Vin Diesel. They give him enough lines that he can handle. He knows not to go too far out of his wheelhouse. He makes a joke. He says, "Hey, let's get on it. I'm Vin Diesel. Let's get some witches." Again, I don't know what he's saying, but I think the lines are okay. Michael Keaton's in that randomly. Michael Caine. Michael Caine. I play an old man. Surprise! I play an old man. But yeah, that one's not bad. So, is there anything coming up? Not just something that Luma's worked on in the pipeline that you're excited about? Are you excited about Guardians? Are you over Marvel? Again, I'm not talking about effects, just in general.
That's all right. No, it's totally fine. I'm a neutral. I'm a fan.
Are you over that? Are you okay? You're like, again, should they take a break? Well,
I don't know if you remember back when we used to work together, but I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, as what you remember.
Oh, there you go.
Like, I never used to go, like, opening day, I've got to go watch this movie, I've got to go there. Look, I'm a big Spider-Man fan. Like, Spider-Man, I'll drop everything for, but...
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the biggest Marvel fan, so I don't...
Yeah.
Not that I don't care. They pay my wages now, but I'm not... Like, I won't go fully out of my way. Like, I'll be honest with you, I've probably seen... Out of a lot of the projects I've worked on, I've probably seen maybe a quarter of half the Marvel films I've worked on. I don't know, I'm just not the biggest fan. Like, my genres. I love my horror.
Yeah,
I do love my action. With a hint of sci-fi here and there. But yeah, I'm just not a big Marvel movies. Well, as I said, I am a fan. I just don't really watch them. I don't know. look, I haven't seen any of the Thor movies, and I worked on the fourth one. So yeah, in that instance, I don't mind. I don't care. I'm not a full critic on it, so I can't really judge it. From a fan's perspective.
That's right. I think that's where everyone's at the moment with Marvel.
Yeah.
Like I say, they're draining the IP. They should give it a break. But yeah.
Yeah, it is true. Look, we have about 4 Marvel Disney projects at the moment in the pipeline that we're working on now.
Wow.
And the stuff looks great that we're doing and whatnot. I'm not just saying that with my rose-coloured glasses, but there is a lot coming out. And you've seen on the all the seminars that they have with Disney and all that, all the the pipeline of stuff that's the timeline. Of all the productions happening.
Phase 4,
so there
phase
is
5,
a fair bit
whatever
coming.
phase. Yeah.
There is a fair bit coming at the moment, but I can discuss. I am working on Ahsoka with Rosario Dawson for Lucasfilms. We're doing that one.
Yep.
And Citadel, which is coming on Amazon in a few weeks by the Russo brothers, the series that they've created. So we're doing some awesome shots on that. And yeah, as I said, we've probably got about 4 or 5 in the pipeline at the moment that I can't talk about just yet. But
that's cool.
It'll be interesting to see what direction it goes in, and everything's interconnected. Like, I have to get my colleagues at work to explain to me some of the timeline, because I haven't seen a lot of the shows, Disney Marvel shows either, that have come out over the time. So I don't really know who's connected to what. I always have to ask questions about, what's this one? So at least I know then what I'm... Because at work, we actually... all the projects we work on all go by code names. So none of them are actually...
Of course.
What they're actually going to be released as. So I actually know them more as code names than I do their normal names.
Yeah, no, I know about code names. Do you know what the code name was for Return of the Jedi?
No.
Blue Harvest, the Evil Within.
Oh, there you go.
So Lucas had to do that because by the time Return of the Jedi came around, everyone knew, if they saw, him or anyone that looked like a big ILM production, they had to keep it down low. They even had hats made up, Blue Harvest, which is kind of funny. So yes, I know about the code names just in case.
Yeah.
You don't want something
You'll love what Thor's code name was, the Big Salad.
Oh, that's hilarious. The Big Salad.
Yeah. I think that was a Seinfeld reference, I believe. One of the producers decided and called it that.
Oh, that's good. Well, you don't want stuff to leak because human nature is terrible. Even though we don't want it, we'll destroy it for ourselves. So it's good to keep it locked down because people will seek out secrets. So if you do like adventure, have you been a fan of John Wick? I don't remember.
Yeah, I did like the John Wick films. I haven't seen the fourth one yet.
I won't say anything.
Time.
Yep. All right.
But I do want to see that one. I think that's another franchise I reckon that could get a bit tiring, because I remember watching the third one. I don't know if I saw it with you or Danny or someone, but I actually had a little bit of a snooze in that one, and then I had to rewatch it when it came onto streaming. And to me, it just kind of feels like they're all the same.
Yeah, well, like I say, that one came out of nowhere, and then in typical Hollywood style, someone says, "Hey, how can we milk this further?" But yeah,
I really like Nobody. With Bob Odenkirk.
Yes, that one's good. That one came out of nowhere.
And I found that there was the same. Yeah, I think it was the same studio, the same makers or writers, or whatever. And I kind of thought that was a bit of a breath of fresh air, and not putting shit on Keanu Reeves or anything, but
yeah.
I don't know. I just found that was kind of a cool, because it pretty much was like John Wick, but with a different character and a different setting. And I think that might be the way everybody's going to go now with that formula. I feel like that movie that I mentioned about Jennifer Lopez as well, that's coming soon to Netflix. I think it's got similar vibes to that, where it's one person takes on everybody.
Yep. Did you see? We're going into different tangents, but they're related, I promise. Did you see the series The Old Man with Jeff Bridges?
No, I missed that. No,
that came out of nowhere. That's like if John Wick got old and then was reactivated, but it's just awesome.
That'd be cool. I've always wanted to watch that one. I heard it's really good. Yeah,
it came out of nowhere. I'm like Jeff Bridges. Are you still around? Like, you're having trouble breathing. I don't know if you've ever noticed that recently. I'll have to look that up. There must be a reason. But in every scene, he's like, he's a heavy breather. But look, I loved that one. I'm trying to think of sort of low budget things that came out recently and sort of blew everyone's mind. What
do you think as a fan of like the Netflix movie or series of the weeks? Like, I'm starting to find that they're all kind of the same. Like, it's always, like, even the romantic ones, like my wife, I want to watch those and I'll watch them with her, and they all just seem to be in that same formula. Like they'll get two megastars to be in it. And it's literally like, boy meets girl, boy and girl fight, boy and girl end up together. That's it.
Pretty much, and that's what I say about sometimes it's just content for content's sake. But again, Netflix, it's like it's their own creation killing them. You know what I mean? Their whole platform is to give you stuff to watch. So not everyone can be a whiz-bang blockbuster. It's difficult. So, and since obviously now Netflix, much like Blockbuster, which I think is interesting because Blockbuster, I still say to this day, someone in the Blockbuster boardroom must have said, hey, we should do a Blockbuster.com or start getting digital. And someone says, nah, DVD all the way. And now they're dead. But the thing is now movie studios are starting to cotton on to, hey, let's just get our own streaming service. So everyone and their mom has one now, Paramount, Warner Brothers, Universal. So they're going to start taking all their products off Disney. Netflix will only have what? They'll only have their own content, yeah? Do you think they're going to lose all their movie content? Because all the studios will want their content back. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the Netflix story going to be? What's their future?
I think Netflix still gets first dibs at, I think it's the Sony Pictures films, I believe. So I don't think Sony Pictures have a streaming service as of yet.
Sure they will.
So that's a great thing that you've said. I am curious to know if they would be able to hold on to that, or maybe they'll have to venture onto like a live sport or something. Because I know a lot of them now, like Dan's got the rugby and stuff. They've got rugby. Amazon's got like swimming and the Commonwealth Games and all different things.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not saying they're panicking, but I'm sure they're having this conversation to say we don't want to end up like Blockbuster. With Blockbuster had the name, but Blockbuster didn't own any of the content, and not a single thing in there was theirs. They just had a hard copy of it for you to rent, and that unfortunately went the way of the dodo with the world of digital and online and media. But yeah, that'd be a great documentary. I'm sure there's a series, called Blockbuster, I think, where they're working in a Blockbuster store from the 90s. And there is still one Blockbuster left. I think it's in Oregon in the USA. But I think it's just being held there for nostalgia and love. But there is one still in existence. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's one Blockbuster. And that would be awesome to go to. Because, again, as a kid, that was the place to go. It was just where you went.
Man, I was shattered when I think it was Network Video. I think it was the last one in my area anyway that it closed down. It was a sad day.
Yeah. Remember the DVD kiosks? There was like the bridging version.
I never touched those. I didn't trust them.
The DVD kiosk, you didn't do that? Yeah, a bit dodgy.
No, I saw them, but I never went near them.
Well. Look, who knows? What do you think about streaming premieres? I know Black Widow. What's her name from Black Widow? Actually,
Scarlett Johansson
sued Disney over that. I think she actually won because they promised her one thing and did another, which was... Oh,
okay. No, I'm not too familiar with that.
Yeah, well, look, again, this is a different world. This is the world of lawyers and money. This is the world of, when actors get like a deal about percentage, and that's a big deal, I mean, everyone knows, I know the Jack Nicholson story about Batman. His whole thing is, I'll do it, but, I'm going to get a piece of the action. And that's when you go from just making millions as the actor to literally writing your own story. So that made Jack Nicholson. He probably makes money to this day because he got a piece of the pie. And I think Scarlett Johansson had a similar deal that it was going to be proceeds from movie releases. And then when they released it on streaming, it ate into that profit is the basics of it.
I forgot about that, yeah.
She got a bit nasty there, but I am curious. What do you think about that? During COVID, it was a necessity. I get it, but do you believe in the home premiere as opposed to the theater premiere? Our theater?
No, I still think.
Yeah,
I'm old-fashioned, and I still think the first screening should be on a big screen properly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. I think it should be. There shouldn't be a home premiere. That's ridiculous. Look, a lot of the stuff I have done has been home premieres, but in saying that, the cinema's the way to go. It's the way it should be. The only thing is, I will say, I do feel a bit sorry for the actors who are like in this generation and onwards, because all the stuff that they are going to be doing will be, as you said, on those streaming websites. And then you think about the actors that are from Friends, that are on The Sopranos, Entourage. I know that, okay, for example, I think two of those or three of those belong on HBO, Warner Brothers now, whatever it is. But those shows are still getting aired on certain streamers. I think like normal TV is paying for them as well, and those actors are still going to get their residuals. But all the new age actors are not going to get any financial benefit other than just their fee to appear in it.
That's it. They've got to get better, they've got to get better agents now, I think, and make them a new deal in the new streaming world. But yeah, I hear you. You know, for me, the movies are still an experience, and one of the best things to this day is not only experience it with friends, but experience it with everyone else in the theater who are all strangers. And it's fascinating to me to this day. I had this big experience with, I think, Spider-Man, the latest one, when everyone was in it. With the OG was in it, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. When all the three Spider-Mans were in it, the last one. So that moment was the same all around the universe, and it's so cool to experience that with other people in the theater who you don't know, experience the same laughs at the right moment and the same surprises at the right moment, and that is what's fun about the movies. And then from there, you can watch it at home on your own. But yeah, the first experience, you can't beat watching it with strangers, essentially, watching it with a crowd.
Oh, exactly right.
But well, like again, who knows? It's a strange world now of demand and money, and you know, again, COVID didn't help because everyone got used to becoming homebodies and using Uber Eats and just ordering stuff online, and your TV is now your whole world and your phone. And why go out? Which is sad. You got to get out of the house. But
no, I agree. 100%.
Hopefully that won't change. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you. I'm sure you've got some fatherly duties to perform. But
Eddie's getting towards bedtime. That's probably we'll have to depart, unfortunately. But thank you so much for having me on. I really, really enjoyed it.
No, thank you. And like I say, I love to talk movies with you, and I think it's an amazing job they're doing over there at Luma. So like I say, if I ever make a comment, it's just about movies in general. I know that
not a problem
hard work goes into these movies, and like I say, they have had quite an impact working on so many Marvel movies, and you should be proud of that too. All right? Well, thanks for joining, and I hope we can chat again soon, all right? Have you back again, all right?
Thanks for having me on. Thanks,
all
Sonny.
Right. Awesome. All right, chat to you later. Thanks.
Ta-da, mate. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, Steven there, my good friend, working at Luma Pictures and the great special effects that they do. Thanks for joining me tonight on our soundtrack stereo edition of Radio Motion. Great songs from the movies. More great songs up next after a word from our sponsors.